Unmute. Okay. I am unmuted. Ha ha. Nothing can stop us now. It's so good to see everybody here on this fine day. It's fabulous day in that. Oh, hi, Samita. She says, hello, dear ones, because it's for all of us here. Benifer and Gail and Viv and who else is coming in on Facebook? Oh, Catherine and Stephen and Tracy. Hi, guys. And women and all of you of all genders. And Kylie and Alora and ST Curry 70. Yeah. And Amy and Kitty. Okay. So when we get, we're there. We're going to start the gathering room now and the gathering pod for those of you listening in on the audio only. It's so good to see you all. And today I have a topic that's really dear to my heart. It's very woo-woo, but it's very science-based. And I love nothing better than sciencey woo-woo. And I'm not messing around. Like, I read the science. I go there. So I've called this Finding Second Sight. I could have called it Using Second Sight. And it concerns something that I've been muddling about in my head, you guys, for decades. And that is the way of seeing. See, I was a kid who drew. I was one of those kids who draws a lot, and I just never stopped. It was kind of my sanctuary. Now that I know Jill Bolte Taylor, I know I was moving my attention all into the right hemisphere of my brain, which is where you feel curious but not fearful, and you feel the presence of some almighty loving force. So who would not do that? So I just drew and drew and drew about 10 hours a day as a kid. And there was something that happened when I'd go to a certain place and I could feel the shift in my head. And I called it, when I was little, like 3 or 4, I called it turning on my eyes. And I knew that at the moment I turned on my eyes, words would fall away. And also that I could see things with very, very precise detail. Now, I couldn't always draw them, and it drove me nuts. I remember sitting, oh my gosh, endless hours on the floor of our living room while the sun went from one side as it came up, and all my older brothers and sisters were at school, and it would go across the room and then down on the other side. And I would still be sitting there trying to draw one thing: the human nose. Guys, the human nose is not an easy subject from profile. Yes, but don't even, try it yourself. It's not easy. It took me years to figure it out, but I didn't stop for years. And turning on my eyes became this thing that I always did. Now, as I got older, I've often talked about how I had this feeling that I was to be part of some sort of transformation of consciousness, though I didn't call it that. And I started to see that certain people seemed to be surrounded by a light. And if I got to know those people, they always had the same feeling I did. And it was curious to me because they didn't always look lit. They looked lit when I was drawing or when I turned on my eyes. I was doing something with my brain, and I still do it now when I meditate, and the visuals are quite spectacular. Like, very, very often I'll be sitting in nature, and everything starts to look as if it has little segments to it. And then everything turns into pixels. And then sometimes everything sort of changes and warps, and then it's just light, and there are showers of light, and there are like glittery snowflakes falling down. And I'm just sitting there. And as long as I don't shift my brain, I see all these weird things. Okay. So I've really, really studied this over the years. I was particularly interested in an artist who lives in Turkey. And his name is Esref Armagan. You can look it up. And he's a good painter. He paints recognizable portraits. He paints landscapes. He's kind of an impressionist. But, seascapes with the waves and the birds and the sailboats on this water. He was studied by the BBC and the people and people at Oxford. And they took him to a very famous building that has extremely complex geometry. The building is an octagon. And they sat Esref Armagan down and they said, draw this building. And he did. And I have to say, his perspective was a little bit off. But But in the main, it was correct, which is saying a lot, you guys, because Esref Armagon was born without eyes. Do you hear this, guys? Is this landing for you? This landed for me. He was born with 0 eye in one eye socket. And in the other socket is a little tiny vestigial thing the size of a pea that can't see anything. How the hell is this man drawing things like the way a sailboat looks on the horizon, the way birds look in the sky, the way an octagonal building looks to a human observer on the ground? People's faces, what? He cannot see. It's not like he saw once and then he couldn't again. So I was like, what the hell is going on? Then I heard that to paint, he has to be in total silence. And that tells me that, and they've done a lot of animal studies with this, where if you like tape a baby rat's eyes shut, very soon, parts of the brain that are devoted to vision will migrate to different parts of the brain, maybe the paws, maybe the whiskers, maybe the ears. And so all the nerve activity that was meant to be associated with vision is associated with something like very, very good hearing. Okay. But still, ears can't take in and process light, can they? I didn't think so. Then I saw a movie called Superhuman, which you can look up and watch yourself. And this is about odd behaviors and abilities that people have that they can demonstrate. And they are inexplicable. And one of these is that if you take a child under the age of 12 and you put a very, very effective blindfold on them so that 0 light is getting through to them, if they're under 12 and they get some training, they can learn to see without their eyes. And they can run mazes and ride bicycles and read books with a blindfold on. Nobody knows how. They just know it can work. So, of course, I went and bought one of the blindfolds. You can get them online. They're like $10. And I thought, I am over 12. I mean, I think I could pass for 7 in pitch darkness to a person who never met a 7-year-old. But, I tried with the blindfold and it wasn't happening. So, however, I have access to a child now. So Lila's 11 months. As soon as she's old enough to talk, I'm going to be like, you want to watch a movie? You want to try something? You're interested? Yeah. No. So all of this is to say that what I think, this is my best theory, is that what is collecting light and using something besides the eyes to see is consciousness itself. That we are a consciousness infiltrating this material form, and that consciousness exists at a wavelength where light is like the slowest thing it is. I guess it could be, it's everything. I think it's everything. I mean, quantum mechanics says it's everything. Everything is just wave energy, right? But light is the highest frequency that we can see with our eyes, right? And the interesting thing about light is that it comes up in every sacred tradition from any place in the world. The eternal, the absolute love, truth, they're always associated with light, which seems, I mean, it's so enculturated in us. It seems like, well, that's normal, right? Except that why isn't it sound? I mean, it is sound in a lot of cultures. It's about a beautiful sound, but why is it never about taste or smell or the feel of something? Light is so dominantly what people talk about when they talk about the divine, and also about the nature of the true self. And of course, as you all know, when people have near-death experiences, they're typically met by a being of light, and they go toward a light. Hieronymus Bosch painted this in, I forget which century, 17th, 16th? Whenever Hieronymus Bosch was alive. Look up a painting of his called Ascent into the Empyrean. And it shows all these souls being carried up through this darkness, through a tunnel in which, at the end of which there is this brilliant light. So clearly Hieronymus was into this. So we've all been seeing the same things. I just read the most interesting book. If you want to read it, I've started actually remembering the titles and authors so I can tell you. This one is called Glimpses of Eternity, and it's by Raymond Moody, who started the whole near-death experience craze by naming it and researching it. And he's an MD, PhD, he's a very smart guy, very rational, but he researches near-death experiences, and Glimpses of Eternity is about a different thing. It's called a shared death experience. You probably know about near-death experiences. The person has a combination of different factors, which may include hearing an uncomfortable buzzing noise, feeling pulled or popping out of the body, looking at the body from up above, encountering deceased relatives or loved ones, seeing a being of light and or seeing a big tunnel with a light at the end, going through the tunnel, encountering more beings, including a major being of light, having a life review where they feel the effect of their lives on everyone, and then being told it's not your time, you need to go home, or you have a choice, you can go home. So I was familiar with that. Now, shared death experiences are so interesting, and I know at least one person who's had part of one or a small one. And that is that as the loved one dies, the person at the bedside, or sometimes several people in the room, perceive a bright light. The light seems to emanate throughout the room itself. And then sometimes they see like a mist of light rising from the body as the person dies. Then sometimes they get pulled up into the tunnel and they encounter the beings of light. And they see the life review of their loved one, including things that happened to the loved one that they never knew about. Then they're told they have to go back. So they go back. But the thing is, people say, oh, that near-death experience is the last gasp of a dying brain deprived of oxygen. Well, these people who have the shared death experiences aren't deprived of oxygen, and they're nowhere near dead. Their brains are sad, maybe, but not in total oxygen-deprived stress. So that's interesting. There's one detail of the shared death experience that absolutely blew my mind. And near-death experiences, the people who actually die, they don't talk about this. This is the people who are sitting by the bed. They always say, as the person died, the geometry of the room changed. And one guy who was a math professor said it was as though all the dimensions unfolded and expanded at the same time. And sometimes they all say the corners disappear and sometimes spirals appear. And I went and looked up Calabi-Yau spaces, which are hypothesized by some quantum physicists to represent every point of space-time. And it's this very bizarre unfolded geometry. And I was like, maybe that's it. Okay, so all of this, just to say, these weird things happen with light and with sight. And I think that we are just a hair away from being able to see it all the time. Kids under 12 can learn to see it if their brains are directed. Esraf Armagan learned to see somehow in silence with maybe his ears. And I've always been able to turn on my eyes. And I've been obsessed with this. And I was looking at this painting that I did when we moved into our house in Pennsylvania. So I made a painting of the forest around our house. And for those of you who cannot see this because you're on the audio only, I'm gonna post on Instagram about this so you can see it. So this was the picture I painted of the forest. I'm gonna show it to the Instagram folks. Ooh. You can see that there's a little man standing there showing you the hugeness of the forest. And you may be able to see, as I was doing it, I thought, that looks like a cathedral. Look how the form of the trunks going up is like the pillars and then the cross beams. And then, so what I did was I thought, oh, I'll make it like a cathedral. So this part here, I made it into what's called the nave. And this, you can just see a circle here. That's called a rosette. And it's the place that lets in light in the nave of every cathedral. And I looked at this painting for like a year. And I meditated in the forest or looking out at the forest many, many, many of those days. And as I kept turning on my eyes, I realized that I was a coward. I was painting the painting my eyes were seeing when I was in my right mind. And when I was painting, when I'm looking at the forest from my real self, that's not what the forest looks like. So I decided I'm going to try to do a painting of what it really looks like to me. So I've been going on and on to you guys about this. Here, this is what I paint. So this is draft 1 here. And then this is draft 2. Now can you see the whole thing? It's kind of shiny. It's shiny because I used a special technique that is really hard. If you look up close, you can see that the man is walking. Instead of just standing there, he's now under the rosette, which is not made of color. It's just white light. And the stained glass represents culture. And the angels on the stained glass are the angels that sing to me every morning. They are my birdie friends. So you guys should be able to see that on, I'm going to try to fix this so you can see both of these. All right, so that's on the left is what it looks like to my eyeballs. On the right is what it looks like to my soul eyes. And I'm telling you, the one on the right is way more accurate for me. That captures my forest in a way the one on the left doesn't at all. Sorry, you guys, I've messed up the entire setup of the whole thing. Now I'll try to just creep out of frame. Let me just say, before I take your questions, that the method I used here, it was really weird. I didn't know why I was obsessed with using this ancient way of oil painting where you don't put white on the painting. You just so the white parts aren't painted white. They're just the white of the canvas painted over with a clear varnish. Somebody says, why a man, not a woman? And it's actually just meant to be an androgynous figure. But I did one of Diana herself, the book that I wrote. And this is kind of the cover for the next book. And the main character of that book, which right now is called Sylvan, that hero is going to be male because the first one's about the arising of the divine feminine, which is necessary for the transformation. And the second one is about the rise of the divine masculine, which will be necessary for the transformation. Okay, you move it over here so you can see it down. I sit in the middle. Okay, so I think I was saying to my daughter, who's an artist, I don't know why I did this thing where I did like 87 coats of clear paint and built up this glassy look on the one because that's what it looks like to me out in the forest. And I didn't use white paint. I was obsessed with not painting the rosette white. And my daughter said, well, yeah, you can't paint the divine. The closest you can come to it, consciousness is trying to represent it as the blankness of the canvas, which is exactly how people in religious or spiritual traditions describe the absolute, that it is no thing, right? So yeah, it has the basic form of a cathedral, but it's nature. And then he's going through the brief period of culture, which is the stained glass with the angels singing, and then he gets into the absolute. Okay, so Mary James says, what is the technique by which you turned on your eyes as a child? Great thing. Let me see what I did. It's very hard to describe. I know it has to do with my breathing, and I'm always talking about breathing, right? So I know I had to slow my breathing, and then I would look up, okay, I know a way to do it. If you look around the room, I've done this exercise before for other reasons on the gathering room, but right now, look around your room, wherever you are, or your outside space, and look for everything yellow, and just say in your mind, yellow, 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 and just keep looking, yellow, yellow, yellow. What's yellow? You'll see that yellow things pop into your attention. Then say red, 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 and look around the space, red, 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 and everything red will pop into your attention. Now say blue, 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 and let blue pop to your attention. Got it? Now I want you to look around the room while saying in your mind, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue. You're looking for all three, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue. Try it for a few minutes, just seconds. what happens is that the brain goes into something called soft focus, where instead of looking very specifically and with sharp eyes, which is a left brain fight or flight phenomenon, the eye aperture opens to a wider perspective and stops looking specifically and starts to take in the whole. And at that moment, it stops tracking time and you come into the present moment. So that's, for me now, it just is like turn on my eyes, boom, and I do it. But that technique, I realize it's the same feeling in my head. So you can do that one. I hope it helps. Mary James says, also, she says, why a man, not a woman? And it's because both the sides have to be enlightened and then they have to reach non-duality, which is why there is no gender in the after the transformation of consciousness, I think. But who knows? I don't know anything. Okay, Jessica says, does the science suggest that people are predisposed to certain extrasensory abilities? I love to experiment, but things related to animals come to me come most naturally. Yeah, absolutely. It runs in families, different skills, different ways of being, the tendency to be more paranormal, more woo-woo. I'm really grateful I was raised Mormon because it's a really woo-woo society and I don't believe most of what they believe, but it was like, all right, everybody I know claims to have seen an angel, so no biggie. And if you allow yourself, it's lower the screen. Oh, Instagram. Ooh. Sorry, divers. I love you. Yeah. Okay. So definitely it runs in families, it's genetic, but it's also social. If you are socialized to believe that something will come naturally to you, it will more easily. So you can't do much about the biology of it, but we all share. So there is such an infinitesimal difference between your body and my body. I don't care how different you may look or feel, we're almost identical. So I think these things are open to all of us. But go where the love takes you, go where the passion takes you. Because if you just want paranormal, fine, go take a magic course. But if you want peace, if you want truth, if you want a transformation of consciousness, you have to go where love takes you. This is first and foremost an exercise in love. And I remember writing and expecting Adam, whoever said love is blind was dead wrong. Love is the only thing in the world that allows us to see with the remotest accuracy. When you love something, you see it. You see it differently. You see it better. Okay, Amy says, how does the forest change when you see it now? Do you attribute it to turning on your eyes? Is this a kind of consciousness? It's a friend. It's a friend. And it changes every moment the way all people do, the way all souls do. It's pure consciousness. And I read a lot about things like plant consciousness, which is a real thing. Check that out. Good science on that too, not just crazy science. So I feel it as part of myself. When I turn on my eyes, the difference between it and me is gone. So I not only see it, I feel it. Like if I were to draw a tree, I would feel the paint, like the pencil moving down the side of the tree, almost as if I had the pencil against the tree. But I also feel the pencil going down my own body. Like it's on the right side of my brain, so it's really hard to describe. But there is no difference, and it's a friend, and there's no hostility in it. There's nothing but there's peace, there's calm, there's very little suffering because there's no fighting with reality in nature. And that's why it calms me down so much. And why when we moved here, I said, you guys, I totally want to go back east, but I want to live in a forest still. So Marianne and Dawn say, can Martha tell us what she does to turn on her eyes? Okay, so we did that, the yellow, red, blue exercise. Also, if you just draw, like I used to teach this drawing class at Harvard with this incredible, brilliant teacher named Will Ryman. Brilliant artist, brilliant teacher, 2 massive skills in one dude. Amazing. Changed my life forever. And what I learned from him is that if you can confuse the brain into not believing what it sees, but into just seeing what's in front of it, then language shuts down and people can draw more accurately. And over and over, the exercise of drawing returns them to that space. So to draw, you have to go to the right side of your brain, and to be on the right side of your brain, it helps to draw. You can get Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. Beautiful book, wonderful. Do the exercises in there. They will work. And you will also make drawings that you're really happy with. So Ariona says, could we need an incorporation of all senses to awaken completely? I think, who knows? I mean, I think somebody who had, like Helen Keller, I think she could awaken completely, and she might have had not the types of vision and hearing that we have. I think consciousness needs to awaken, and that consciousness has senses that go far, far beyond ours. As I've said before here, we only see a trillionth of the available light spectrum, and there are spectra of everything: flavor, smell, sensation. We don't know. We don't know anything, you guys, but we are that life form on this planet that is able to imagine it and to get curious about it. Apparently, I don't know what the dolphins are doing under there, really, but we are the only people I know who are super, super curious about what consciousness is doing inside of us and inside of the rest of nature. So I think that once you come out of the body, we know that people who have lost senses like hearing and sight, and for several years, and then they have a near-death experience, we know that those people can hear and see what's going on in the room or around them as people try to resuscitate their bodies. So immediately they get hearing and sight back. People who've gone a far way in say they also get the ability to sense things that are indescribable, way indescribable. And that makes me think we have additional senses when we're pure consciousness, a lot of additional senses. Donna says, Dr. Donna says, when I look at the one on our left, I feel this energy of the divine. Is that your energy coming through the image or seeing with the soul eyes? What I think, thank you, first of all, thank you so much. That was, I struggled. I did a version of this that I painted on for like 100 hours and then just threw it away and started over. It wasn't easy at all. But damn, was it fun. I would be up at 3 a.m. like, I can't stop. I think that I managed to leave enough paint out and enough of myself out that something could shine through. I don't think it was me, except in the sense that it is us. I think that's what we look like. I honestly think that that light in that painting is what you look like. That is what you look like to me when I see you. I was telling someone this on an interview the other day, and she was like, how do you be totally honest if somebody says, how do I look? And they look horrible. And I was like, you're not looking hard enough, because the truth is that if you really look, and if you really look, and if you really look, if you turn on your eyes, this is what we are here. And you look that person straight in the eyes and with absolute honesty say, you are beautiful. You are. Donna says, need to get this in print. I actually people have requested prints of my stuff before, so I looked it up. And I think I'm going to put on some masks and go check out this printmaking place in Pennsylvania. So I may be able to like sell them or whatever. I'm checking on it. Thanks for the suggestion. Sherry says, the second painting is how I feel my inner being is calling out to me. The feeling is like floating, yet I have nothing specific or clear of what to do with this. Not sure of what meaning or direction to go. I hear you. How many people out there have felt this? Some of us feel it almost all the time. And I keep asking, well, what should I do? What should I do? And more than ever before, in the last few weeks, what I get is be still and allow it. Be still and allow. Be still and allow. Like the lights are going on everywhere. In fact, I kept getting this phrase of an E.E. Cummings. I kept seeing these little lights turning on all over, like this light that is beyond physical sight turning on all around the globe. I was looking at some stuff about Afghanistan, and I was so upset, and I was weeping and thinking, what do we do with the light thing in the face of all this? And I heard this phrase from an E.E. Cummings poem that I love, and the phrase is, when the heart of this flower imagines the snow carefully everywhere descending. And I just saw all these little glitters coming down, and it was carefully everywhere descending. Like it's happening, you guys. It's actually happening, but it's so quiet. As I've said before, you don't see that light. Most people go into the forest and see something much more like painting A than painting B. And yet to me, the painting B is a far more accurate representation of what I actually see. So it's invisible and inaudible and undetectable to most of us all the time. And when we learn to turn on our eyes, our ears, our senses, heaven knows what we can do. So Annabella says, do you believe in fate? Yes, thank you. Stephanie says, does this relate to Jill Bolte Taylor's character 4? Can we brain huddle to allow this type of sight to enter more often? Not only did Jill Bolte Taylor, yes, not only did Jill and I name our creative parts Pigpen, both of us independently, but when I first met her, I was like, what are you doing right now? And she was like, I'm painting on my boat. And I was like, seriously? And then 2 days later, she sent me a picture. She was making stained glass because that's what her soul wanted to do. Like we're all creating, like the creative part of our consciousness, part of its expression is in the arts for humans. And that's a place where our creativity can go to capture what we're feeling. And that is what Jill and I are both experiencing that makes us want to create images and pictures in stained glass. So lots of people are asking for the name and spelling of the Turkish artist without eyes. His name is Asraf, A-S-R-A-F, Armeggen, A-R-M-E-G-G-E-N. I think that's correct. If the spelling's a little bit off, that'll still Google you to it, because Google is connecting all of these things. So we've got the magic, the technology of magic exists within our bodies, you guys, within our senses. It is magical, this body you've got. Even if you don't like it much, it's so magical. And then we have technologies that seem magical, who can let us show each other our pictures and ask each other our questions and talk about our experiences and help us share the feeling of the snow carefully everywhere descending. So I love you guys. You are all glowing lights to me. And I will see you next week on The Gathering Room. Mwah, 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 mwah.